Hi, and welcome back to my Disney Villain series. This is part 2 for the Evil Stepmother, and I'm going to be using acrylic markers today. I've already chose my colors, and I will, as always, link the supplies that I use in the description box. I've already got mine drawn. If you haven't watched video 1 yet, go ahead and watch that one first if you want to draw along. I will link that above somewhere. So I have my markers. Just a variety, and then I also still have my circle template, so when I go to do the eyes or and the earrings, if I need to use it for some reason to make sure everything's cleaned up, I will. But I think we're just gonna dive right in, no reason to waste time. I'm going to start with her hair. As I said in the drawing video, I'm actually gonna make her hair pink in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Plus, I just think it would be hilarious because she's such a jerk. So I'm like, let's just make her hair pink. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I've got 2 different colors. I have a light pink and a dark pink. So most of it's gonna be the dark pink, and then the light pink will be kind of where her like little gray spots would be. The lighter gray spots would be. So I'm gonna start with the dark, and I'm just gonna stay within my lines, and I'm gonna be, you know, going with the flow of the directionality of the hair. Because the hair took so long in the last video, I am going to speed up when I color the hair. So you can just slow the video down a little bit if you want. I still want you to see what I'm doing, but I'm gonna put it to music and not talk during it. So I'm just gonna jump right in. These are acrylic markers, so if I end up getting any of the darkness kind of into the light spots, where her, you know, lighter gray hairs would be, it's okay because I can layer those, so you don't have to stress about that too much, and it will color the line. Plus I am going to outline her, therefore it's okay if it shows through a little bit. Okay, all right, I'm gonna dive right in. I'm gonna go back over it again. Apparently I keep picking markers that are not great, even though I've barely used this. This Arteza brand, I don't know. I know a lot of people love it, and I'm gonna try another pack, but it's kind of irritating to me a little bit. But I'm gonna go back over it a little bit, just kind of with some directionality lines, and then I'm actually gonna bring this color, the lighter color, within the darker areas as well, just a little bit as some contrast. But I'm gonna spend a little bit of time just kind of flicking back through here, just to kind of clean that up a little bit. I really don't like how harsh it is, so that's what I'm gonna do real quick. Okay. With her hair for now. My paper curled up a little bit just because it got wet from the marker. I'll make it get flat later, but that's kind of why it curled up a little bit. Let's move on to her eyes, and her eyes are like a limey yellow green. So I used this in the last episode with Madame Mim as well. Seems like the villains are in a kind of a same color palette, at least from the older movies. So I'm going to go ahead and use this green for her eyes. You want to make sure that you shake it with the lid on, off to the side. If you do it right over your picture, you could definitely get some splatter from the marker, so you gotta be careful with the acrylic markers. Trying to stay right along that pencil line that I drew to try to keep that shape. Easier said than done sometimes, especially in a small area with like this chunky, obnoxious nib. Now I think we'll move on to her lips. Actually, we'll do her earrings. I have two colors, a lighter and a darker, just to put in a little bit of shadow, maybe. So I'm gonna go ahead and color them in with just the lightest color first. Again, just keeping the tip of the nib right along that line. The brush nibs are definitely a lot easier to work with. It's just, there aren't a lot of acrylic marker brands that have the brush nib. They're what's called a bullet nib, so it just doesn't have any bend to it. Using the brush nib is more like having a paintbrush, which is kind of nice with acrylics. gonna tackle her lips. And for her lips, we're gonna use the same color as her shirt for her top lip, and then for the bottom lip, I'm gonna use her hair colors. This center part closest to the center of her lip, the lip line is lighter on the bottom lip, so I'm just gonna kind of color that in first. You do have to be careful with this paper and acrylic markers. You don't want to be too harsh with it. It can kind of start tearing it a little bit or rubbing some of it off. So you just want to be careful. But as I've said in a previous video, I just wanted the paper all to be the same for each of them, so I'm just trying to be real careful. This paper is really good for the alcohol markers though, and I've been alternating between alcohol and acrylic. I always touch any area that I might put my hand just to make sure that's dry. I'm just gonna kind of do some directional lines right now. See how I feel about that. And this might be one of those times that I will use a paintbrush with a little bit of water to kind of blend that out a little bit better. I have a paper towel, got a little bit of water next to me here, and just a regular old paintbrush with a little bit of water on it, and you can kind of go in and do like a scrubbing motion. It might be too late because I let it dry to go over it again, I think. You have to be careful with water on this paper as well. I wish I had a smaller nib in this color, but I don't. So I'm just going to be real careful at the corners of her mouth. So I don't want it to get super fat. Might be a little bit dark, but that's fine. And then I'm going to use that same color to color in her shirt. This is a very, very limited palette. So when I was going back and forth a little bit, it kind of spit out a little bit, oops, sorry, onto her chin. So you just want to be careful. There's nothing I can do about it now. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'll go in after this dries and just do a little bit of touching up, but for now I'm just going to leave it. Now we're going to go up in her eye makeup. All the colors I'm using are a little bit different than the actual cartoon movie. So I did the closest I could with the markers that I have without getting stressed out about it. You always want to just make the artwork your own anyway, so I think changing the color a little bit is completely fine. If you're uncomfortable with that, then you can do your best to really kind of match up what the original looks like. But her eye makeup kind of has a purplish pink, but I don't really have that color, so I'm just going to use the color that I did in her hair just to kind of make it all flow together. And the section that we drew in, this whole thing is like where her eyeshadow is. It's basically her eyelid. And it does go all the way around. And it ends right under her eye. I'm being very careful because I don't have a smaller nib. Just not pressing down too hard. Go. She is sassafras. I'm going to go back down in her shirt for just a minute. I went ahead and went back over that off camera. Okay, now I'm going to go back into her earrings with the original color. Just kind of smoothing that out a little bit. Sometimes you really have to do 2 coats in order to really get it colored in. At least that's what I think, especially on this paper, I guess. I think the paper always also depends. Going with that little bit darker color around her earring, right along her, oh, that was really juicy, right along the bottom and kind of the side, because it would be in shadow a little bit. I'm actually going to let those kind of mush together because the first one, or the one I just put down, was really coming out. Guess I shook it up too good. So that just kind of gives it a little bit of a shadow. And this one I'm just going to do a little bit kind of on the bottom, since it's kind of over her, the side of her face there. And then I'll go back in with that lighter color. Just kind of touch the tip of where I put that other one in, and then kind of try to blend them together a little bit. And it's okay if you don't want to blend them and it's kind of a harsher line. That's totally a style, which totally works as well. You could outline her in colored pencil if you wanted to, in more like a reddish color instead of black, but I just want all of the drawings to be cohesive, so I feel like I want to go ahead and just use black instead anyways. Alright, so her eyebrows are black. I'm going to start tracing everything, and then put a little bit of directional lines in her hair, color in her eyebrows, her pupils, and then I think we'll be just about done. So I'm going to use different weights of lines. I have a 0.7 millimeter and then a 1.3 millimeter. I like to use a chunkier one kind of around the face sometimes, or around some of the clothing and in the hair, and then the smaller one in her features, her facial features. And if you don't like a line, you can always kind of change it a little bit now and then erase it when you're done. Really comes to life when you put those eyebrows in. eye, I'm going to actually move to a black liner, and I'm gonna use a 0.2. I feel like the Posca pen is just, it's too juicy and it just makes a mess of everything. So I'm just going to, well, it doesn't make a mess of everything, but I just want a smaller line, so I'm just gonna be careful when I go around the eye. And then her pupil is really dead center. This one got a little wonky. Go back over that a little bit and kind of fix it. And again, you can get your circle template out and put a smaller one in if you want. I'm just gonna kind of wing it and start small and then just make it bigger, like so. And then with acrylic markers, because they're opaque, you can kind of go in and fix things, because it will cover up. And then right here I kind of got messed up, so I'm going to put just a little bit of white Posca pen there. And when I have this out, I'm going to put a little bit of highlights in some areas. Again, this isn't how they do it in the movies, but I am kind of an illustrative, kind of whimsical artist for this, so I thought it would be nice just to add a few little highlights here and there. Okay, now I'm going to add a little highlight. And whatever you do in one eye, you have to do in the other, or she'll look cross-eyed, so. Just a little dot just inside the pupil there. I'm going to give her just a little highlight on her lip. Just the littlest one. Like so. And then a little bit up here on her eyelid. Oh, you know what? I forgot to color in the insides of her little eye there. I'm going to use the light pink for that as well. That's why it's always good to take a step back, see if you forgot anything, make any adjustments. And then she does have eyelashes as well. Her eyelashes aren't really long. She has kind of a thick line on the top. I'm going to kind of put that in first with a little bit of a chunkier marker. I think I might just use this for her lashes as well. They're not very long. Kind of wonked this up over here. I don't love that, but there's not really anything I can do now, especially with that dark of a color, so I'm just gonna have to, I'm gonna maybe try to fix it a little bit by putting some just little highlights. And there we go. And then I do have a few little eraser lines that I can just kind of erase really quick, where I just kind of altered the line when I traced over it. And there's our Evil Stepmother. I like her, and I like that I did pink. I think that's kind of fun. I just don't like this little spot right here, but I don't know how I can fix that, so I'm gonna try not to let it bother me. I hope you've been enjoying this Disney villain series as much as I have. It's been really fun just to create simple but expressive Disney villains every week for Halloween. So I hope that you'll join me next week for our last Disney villain, and it's going to be Cruella de Vil. So thank you so much again for being here. If you enjoyed this video, pop a couple pink hearts in the comment section, give me a follow, and I will see you next Wednesday.